All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Azariah from W5 Jersey, Philly, coming back with another video, giving all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, which the world calls God, and Yahweh Shai, which the world calls Jesus Christ. Shalom, Shalom. In this video, real quick through the Spirit, I'm going to be touching on Colossians 3:11, where Paul speaks of Jew or Greek, bond or free, etc. And then also, I'm going to be touching on the circumcision, all right, that Paul also was dealing with as well, all right, where he says in Galatians 5 and 6 that the circumcision doesn't avail much, all right, so those are two things. Now, those are two precepts that Christians like to pull up. The one with the circumcision, they try to use that to say, well, you don't got to keep the law anymore. Then the Colossians 3:11, you also got one in, I believe it's Galatians 3:28, all right, but they use those precepts to say, well, hey, everyone's welcome to the kingdom. So those are two Christian doctrines and a Trinity. So they really got three main doctrines they have. Lord willing, I may even touch on the Trinity in this video too. I may do that as well. Might just kind of jam it up through the Spirit. All right, but you got the Trinity, you got a Jew or Greek, and then you got the circumcision doesn't avail anything. They love to use those precepts. All right, now again, Galatians 5, they try to use that to say you don't gotta keep the law, and then Colossians 3:11, they use that to say everyone can make the kingdom. Now we're gonna deal with that through the Spirit. Now you may know the breakdown. You may say, well, brother, I already know that, brother. I know what those is talking about. But the thing is, you also got to be able to break it down, because if somebody asks you these questions, you should be able to answer. Especially if you watch the breakdown, you should be able to give an answer. Me personally, I don't like to watch breakdowns and then after the breakdown, I don't gather the notes on it and plant it in my head. If I watch a breakdown, I have to put it in my head, whether it's a day later or so, whenever the time is, I have to implant that breakdown into my mind so that if someone asks me, I know the answer. I don't want to just say, oh, I watched that breakdown, but then somebody asks me about the breakdown, I can't really answer. All right, that's unprofitable. This is the book of Proverbs 15, and I'm going to go to verse 28. And especially with these things I'm going to touch on, these things come up all the time. You don't want to be confounded on the milk. Because I say this all the time, the milk can't turn it to meat. You make, to you in your mind, is milk, but then somebody asks you about the milk and you can't answer it, then it becomes meat. All right, so you got to know how to kind of break down the scriptures. This is the book of Proverbs 15 and verse 28. All right, and it says, the heart of the righteous studieth to answer. So the heart of the righteous is going to study to answer. But the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. So man, he made a wicked man, he's really not studying. He don't know what's going on. Somebody asks him a question. He may not know the answer. He may not know the answer, but then he just going to pour out folly and madness, man. Things that don't even make any sense. You're going to be able to spot that man. You can spot when a man is damn wicked as hell. All right? He can't answer you. Then he starts trying to go to this, go to that. And then now he's pouring out things out of his mouth. I just dealt with somebody like that recently. But he said the heart of the righteous studieth to answer. So in this truth, you're supposed to study to answer. Not study just to get the knowledge for yourself and hoard it up for yourself. But you also have to be able to answer another man. This is the book of 1 Peter 3 and verse 16. All right. This is the book of 1 Peter. Bear with me. 1 Peter 3 and verse 16. And it says, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as of evildoers, that they may be ashamed that falsely accuse. Sorry, verse 15. That's what I want. It says, but sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. So you're supposed to always be ready to answer, our brother. Now, you may not be a teacher. You may be watching, well, brother, I'm not a teacher. I'm not out there yet breaking down the scriptures, da-da-da-da-da. You don't have to be a teacher to study to answer somebody. Somebody may come up to you and ask you about your fringes, all right? It'll be a shame if you don't know how to tell them why you wear fringes, what it's for. They may ask, what's the fringes for? And you kind of don't know. In your mind, you know what it's for, but the person he's asking you a question, you damn pumping gas. You pumping gas, somebody walk up to you, brother, why are you wearing fringes? What are those? You kind of squinting, what are those? All right? And you kind of can't tell them what they are and what they're for. That'll be a damn shame, man. You got to always be ready to give an answer. That's why brothers do these videos. Brothers don't do these videos to give it to one man and then that man holds it to himself. You're supposed to get this wisdom, knowledge, understanding and reveal it to other people, not hide this thing. All right? You know, they tell you that in Sirach 41 and verse 14 through 15. You don't want to hide wisdom. You want to share this thing. All right? But we're going to hop right into Galatians 5 and verse 6, dealing with the circumcision. Now, we're going to find out why Paul actually said that. Now, Paul, he wasn't saying, don't get circumcised. That's not what he was saying. All right? There's a reason. All the things Paul says, there's a reason to it. So this is the book of Galatians 5 and 6. It says, for in Yahushua HaMashiach, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. So the Christians will use it to say, well, brother, I'm got to keep the law. You start getting on the Christian, you start getting on him and telling him, brother, you can't eat pork, you can't eat shrimp, crab, lobster. He goes, oh, nah, brother. Remember, he said circumcision doesn't avail much, nor uncircumcision. So then he's going to give you a breakdown. He's going to say, well, circumcision is a part of the law. So if he just said that this doesn't avail anything, it doesn't do much for you, that means I don't really got to keep the law, man. I can eat pork if I want to. You know, I can do whatever the hell I want. These Christians will use they'll try to use the narrowest path to get over on the Most High, man. Now it's your job to be able to answer this. So we're going to read this one more time. This is Galatians 5 and 6. It says, for in Yahushua HaMashiach, neither circumcision availeth anything. So he's saying circumcision, it doesn't profit anything. All right. Nor uncircumcision by faith, which worketh by love. So this is the reason why he said this. This is Galatians 6 and 11. It says, ye see how large a letter I have written unto you with mine own hand, as many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh. So there's men, he's getting on a certain group of men that they want to show their selves by the works of their flesh. Meaning that, hey, for example, in this truth, you may see a brother, he got big old fringes on. They kind of smack, his fringes smacking the dust. All right, kind of walking, all you hear is a whoosh, whoosh. You know it's this brother coming through because you hear his fringes whoosh, whoosh. They got the big old mitri on, all right? It's wrapped around 7 times, all right? And it's damn, you see how my mitri is, slim or whatever? Hey, this man's mitri kind of extends all the way out here. It's like a turban, all right? He always got the flyest garment on. And you look at this brother like, damn, this is a super brew right here, man. All right? This is a mighty man of the scriptures. Don't you see his hair wrap? Don't you see his fringes? There's men out here that's Paul is speaking of that they kind of show themselves like this. They dress in a certain way. They walk they even got a damn walk. Like the pimps, they got that pimp walk. All right? These jakes he's talking about, they got a walk. They kind of walking in like they pop stars. They kind of open the door. They got the shades on. They're trying to make themselves look pure in the sight of men. All right? So let me read this again. This is Galatians 6 and 11. It says, ye see how large a letter I have written unto you with mine own hand, as many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh, they constrain you to be circumcised. So not only are they making themselves look righteous, but then they trying to grab men up and they're forcing them, you got to get circumcised. If you don't get circumcised, you're not going to make it, man. You're going to be destroyed. That's what these men are telling them. These are scribes and Pharisees, all right? They kind of get on men, all right, and they try to make themselves look good by constraining people to do things that even themselves, they're not doing it. Now, for example, I may have a doctrine. Now, I implanted in this man's mind. Now he goes and tells everybody else. Now the people that's passing on this doctrine that I made up, they're always gonna tell the next person they're passing the message to who they got the doctrine from. All right. So now I made these men do all these things. Now it makes me look good. It reflects on me. That's what these scribes and Pharisees was trying to do. They was trying to persuade men to do certain things so that they can get the recognition all the same. Just like Muhammad. People, they reverence Muhammad like he is Allah himself. All right? Why? Because he made this doctrine, he passed it on to people, and the people that's passing on the message, they said, the great Muhammad said this, the great Muhammad said this. These men, which are scribes and Pharisees, they're like, these followers of these scribes and Pharisees, they're passing on the message, and they're like, yo, I got it from that scribe, I got it from that brother, I got it from... Now it makes this brother look even more righteous than he already trying to make himself look. He got the shades on, the big old turban, the big fringes, the beautiful garment. He has all of those things upon him. He already looks good, but now he got men that's following him. Now he looks even better. That's what these scribes and Pharisees was trying to do. All right, they was trying to make a show. Let me read this again. Galatians 6:12. As many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh, they constrain you to be circumcised. They only want these men to be circumcised to make themselves look good. Continuing on, it says, only lest they should suffer persecution for the cause of Hamashiach. For neither they themselves who are circumcised keep the law, but desire you to have you circumcised, that they may glory in your flesh. See that? I just explained that. They want you to be circumcised so they can glory in your flesh. They're going to point at you, see, I did that. I made him do that. I told him he has to be circumcised. I told him he got to wear fringes. I told him he can't eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. I told him that. The Most High ain't tell him that. I told him that. That's how these men were getting down. So Paul's like, hold on now. These men, they're trying to deceive you. That's why he said this. Let me go to Galatians 3:1. These men were trying to, these scribes and Pharisees were trying to deceive these men of Galatia. It says, Galatians 3:1. O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you, that ye should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Yahweh Shai Hamashiach hath been evidently set forth, crucified among you. So again, they was trying to deceive men. There was men supplanting things, telling them, hey, you gotta be circumcised. Now, like I said, Paul was like, man, I had enough of this, man. These men, they not even keeping the law themselves. He said, know what? To be honest, circumcision nor uncircumcision, it doesn't avail anything. But he said what? Let me get this. I'm going to go back to it. Galatians 5:6. Let me read it again. Galatians 5:6. For in Yahweh Shai HaMashiach neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. So he said, ultimately, it comes down to faith. Now, was he saying that you don't got to keep the law of circumcision? That's not what he's saying. But he was fed up that there's men they're not keeping the law themselves. They're not keeping the law of circumcision themselves, but they're coming in and trying to persuade men and force them, yo, if you don't get circumcised, you're not going to make it. When Paul made this statement, all he was saying was that your works is not going to save you. All right? Let me get this in the book of 2 Timothy. All right, 2 Timothy 2 and verse 9. Well, 1 Timothy 2 and 9. All right, this is the book of 1 Timothy 2 and 9. That's why the Lord said you got to go precept upon precept. Because Paul wasn't just running around saying things that couldn't be broken down. You have to go through the epistles and you'll understand clearly what he was saying. All he was saying in Galatians 5:6 was, your works don't mean nothing, it's by faith. All right, this is 1 Timothy 2 and 9. All right, and it reads, it says, 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 9. Bear with me. It may be 1 and 9. Okay, kind. This is 2 Timothy 1 and 9. It says, who hath saved us. I'll start at verse 8. It says, Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be thou partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of God, who hath saved us and called us with an holy calling, not according to our works. So we weren't called and saved because of our works. It wasn't just like, all right, in the world, you see Jake, they're NFL stars. Now they're rich. These NFL stars, they become rich. Why do they become rich? Because of the works that they're doing. Esau pays them for the works that they're doing. All right? But with the Most High, it doesn't work that way. You're not the chosen people because you did something great in his eyes You did a backflip and a cartwheel, and Esau couldn't do it. So the Lord said, no, what? You're the chosen people. That's not what the hell went on. This was all by calling. This was by election. All right. So ultimately, it's not by your works. You can never be saved by your works because it's all predestination. You have to be predestinated to make it to the kingdom for you to get there, man. If not, then that's it. That's that. So Paul was telling you the circumcision, uncircumcision, it don't really matter because this all comes down to faith and predestination. All right, you will never be saved by your works. Let me read this again. This is 2 Timothy 1:9. It says, who has saved us and called us with an holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Hamashiach Yahushua before the world began. I'm going to get another one in the book of Titus 3:4. All right, this is Titus 3:4. It says, but after that, the kindness and love of Yahweh, our Savior, toward man appeared, not by works of righteousness, which we have done. So you're not going to be saved by the works of righteousness that you have done. It says, but according to his mercy, he saved us by the washing of regeneration and renewing of the Holy Ghost. See that? So Paul, he's been breaking this thing down from the jump. All right, your works is not going to save you. Ultimately, it comes down to faith and the predestination of the Most High. But there's men that do believe. I brought this out before and bring it out again. All right, there's men that do believe that it is by works. Works is what's going to get you salvation. All right, but Paul, he wanted to clear that up for the men of Galatia. All right, faith works. That's not what's getting you to the kingdom. It's the book of Luke 18:10. It says, two men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, Yahweh, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. All right, so this man, he's justifying himself. Why is he justifying himself? He's justifying himself according to his own works. He thinks, okay, I haven't stolen, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. All right, I'm not wicked, but this man, he's wicked. So he thinks because he's done certain things that the Most High is going to justify him over other men. He thought he could be clean. He thought he could make it through his works. All right, that's what the men that were the men that came in that crept in unawares and kind of whispered in the men of Galatia's ears. This is how they felt. They said, yo, if you don't get circumcised, hey man, you ain't clean like me. Don't you see me? All right, you ain't never gonna be like this if you don't get circumcised. That's how they was making it seem like. All right, just like this man justifying himself. Verse 12, he said, I fast twice in a week. I give tithes of all that I possess. Verse 13, and the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much as his eyes into heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, Yahweh be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For every one that exalted himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. See that? So that's very plain upon tables. The Lord told you that this man that was justifying himself by his works, he ain't gonna make it. But the publican that smote upon his chest, humbling himself, he didn't even want to look down. He didn't even want to look up to the heavens, man. He was looking down, all right, while praying. This man, hey, he's gonna be exalted. Meanwhile, the man that thinks his works are gonna save him, all right, hey, he ain't gonna make it, man. This is the point. This is the point that Paul was getting across, man. All right, it's not to say you can't. These Christians can't use this to say, oh, you don't got to keep the law, because Paul wasn't teaching that. We know Paul. He actually taught the. Let me get this real quick. In the book of Acts, Paul literally taught the law. All right, this is Acts 15:29, I believe. This is the book of Acts 15:29. I start at verse 28. It says, I start at 28. I want to get a little bit of context. Bear with me. I start at 24. It says, For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your soul, saying, ye must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. Verse 25, it seemed good unto us, being assembled with one accord, to send chosen men unto you with our beloved Barnabas and Paul, men that have hazarded their lives for the name of the Lord Yahweh Shah Mashiach. We have sent therefore Judas and Silas, who shall also tell you the same things by mouth. For it seemed good to the Holy Ghost and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things. Because sometimes, all right, right now, look at ourselves in this life right now. When you, all right, let me put it like this. To get circumcised right now costs $1,000. There's homeless Jake that's keeping the commandments to the best of their abilities. They got fringes on. They're keeping the high holy days to the best of their ability. But yet they don't got the funds to get circumcised. All right? So that would be a burden unto them. All right? It's kind of in their mind. Damn, it's in the law. I got to get circumcised, but I don't got the money. They might continue to self-condemn themselves. That's what these men are saying. Is just saying, hey, we're not putting these unnecessary burdens on you. If you can get circumcised, by all means, go and do it. But if you don't have the ability, the availability, the liberty to do so, then, hey, try to keep these other commandments, these simpler commandments. All right, do this to the best of your ability. Continuing on to verse 29, it says that ye abstain from meats offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if ye keep yourselves, ye shall do well, fare ye well. So he told them not to eat things with blood, all right, things offered unto idols, all right, and from fornication. All right, let me get this real quick in the law, Deuteronomy 12 and 23. All right, so he told them to keep the law. Now, is Paul a hypocrite? No. But again, like he said, it was made very clear that they weren't trying to lay burdens on men, all right, things that were far out of their reach to do. All right, this is the book of Deuteronomy 12 and 23. It says, only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life. So when you got meat that's not fully cooked and has blood in it, hey, it's still alive. According to the Lord, it's still alive. All right, it says, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. Thou shalt not eat it. Thou shalt pour it upon the earth as water. Thou shalt not eat it, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord. See that? So playing upon tables, it's in a law. You can't eat things that have blood in it. Paul, he told him that. He said, you can't eat these things. But okay, if circumcision, for you to be circumcised, it's far out of your reach, okay, well, try to keep these lesser commandments. We tell Jake that right now. When we go out there and teach the word, we do the same thing. We may tell the Jake, he might be a homeless Jake, he might be on damn drugs. All right? He kind of came up, he high. He just kind of injected himself with some heroin. He kind of came up. We know a brother that did that. I spoke to a brother that he actually did that. I believe he literally just injected himself with heroin or some drug. It was some hardcore drug. Now he came up, and the brother was getting edified through the Spirit, and Lord willing, come into this truth. Lord willing, he did come into the truth fully. But you know, he clearly didn't seem like he had the funds to get fringes and things. What we tell these brothers is, okay, try to keep this commandment and this commandment. Keep the Sabbath day until you have the means to go and get these fringes. But if you can't get the fringes at the time, then it is what it is. We may try to help you out if we can, but what if we can't? All right, Lord willing, we could. But to make my point very clear, there's brothers out there that don't got the funds. They don't got the funds, so we're not trying to be a burden unto them. Man, if you don't get them fringes, nigga, you ain't gonna make it, man. You ain't gonna make it. That's not how we talking to the people, man. All right, we telling them, hey, brother, you just learn your nationality. All right, you may not be able to buy fringes. Keep the Sabbath day. You can keep the Sabbath day. That's easy. You don't need money to keep the Sabbath. All right, you know, don't eat things strangled with blood. All right, or don't eat things that were strangled. Don't eat things that have blood in it. You don't need money to do those things. We give them these simple commandments so that they may go and run and keep the laws of the Most High. That's all Paul was doing, man. He was telling them, hey, circumcision, uncircumcision, it doesn't avail anything. Why? Because it all comes down to faith. All right? You know? Now, again, I just gave an example where the law was still being taught. So it's not to say don't keep the law, don't get circumcised. If you have the means to be circumcised, do so. That's why Paul, he always gave examples out of the law. Let me go to this in 1 Timothy 5:18 real quick. Kind of popped in my head. This is 1 Timothy 5:18. It says, for the scripture saith, see, this is Paul speaking. It says, for the scripture saith, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. So Paul, he steady referred to the law in his teachings. Why? Because the law did matter. Keeping the law still did matter. All right, this is Deuteronomy 12 and verse 4, where he says so. All right, this is the book of Deuteronomy 25, bear with me, in verse 4. All right, Deuteronomy 25 and 4. It says, thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn, plain upon tables. All right, let me get another one real quick in the book of Acts 21. All right, Acts 21, I'm going to start at verse 18. All right, so I'm showing you through the Spirit that Paul did actually keep the law. And he did teach to keep the law. All right, you can't get confounded in these scriptures, man. You got to go precept upon precept to get the understanding. All right. And that's why some people, they can't understand these scriptures and things that Paul said, because you have to go precept upon precept. He told you that real quick. Before I go there, I want to grab this in Isaiah 28 real quick. All right, this is the book of Isaiah 28, and I'm going to start at verse 9. All right, this is Isaiah 28 and 9. It says, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. To whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is a refreshing, yet they would not hear. So when you go precept upon precept, you refresh the mind of babes in this thing. You cause them to get the understanding. Verse 13, it says, but the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. I believe I messed that up earlier, Salakia. It says, and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. So this word, we understand, is not for everyone. So the Lord, he made this thing precept upon precept. Those that are meant to come in this thing, they're going to understand the precepts. And those that aren't meant to come into this thing, when you go precept upon precept, you notice they say things like, oh, you jumping around the scriptures, you playing hula hoops with the scriptures, you going around in circles. That's not really saying that. They're being snared and broken. That's why the Lord set it up like this. You have to put the puzzle together. Some people, when they're putting together a puzzle, say it's a 100-piece puzzle, they're putting the puzzle together, and then they're diligently actually, putting the pieces together. It's easy for them to understand. Some people, they're looking at the puzzle pieces. There's 100 of them, and I gotta put them together. They try to put them together, and they can't understand it. That's how the Most High has done these people, man. He made this thing a puzzle so that those that are supposed to get it, they can put it together. It's very clear for them to see. And those that are not meant to, they kind of struggling to put it together. That's why he made this thing like this. That's why some men don't understand what he's saying. All right? But he did keep the law. It's very plain. It's the book of Acts 21 and 18. It says, in the day following, Paul went in with us. Slack. I really want to get right to the point. I don't want to read this whole thing, but I'm going to read it. It says, in the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are zealous of the law. And they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses. So there's people that's kind of telling, there's a saying going around. They're like, yo, Paul that's teaching the Gentiles, hey, he's telling them not to keep the law. You hear this madness? They're going, you hear it? You see this? Damn Jake, man. Jake be gassing everything up. Jake, you go to these basketball courts, Jake Jake get crossed up, or Jake trip on that court. Jake get dunked on. You hear all the rest of the Jake. Ooh, ah, oh. That's how this thing was going down. This thing was going all around town, man. You know, Jake can't keep their mouth closed. They gotta run their mouth. Did you see him get crossed over yesterday? It happened yesterday at a basketball court, an hour away. Then his brother came to school and he's still talking about it. That's how this word was getting around. That Paul wasn't teaching the correct teachings. He was telling people not to keep the law. This is what was going around. Continuing on, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that thou art come. Do therefore this that we say to thee. We have 4 men which have a vow on them. Them take and purify thyself with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads. So this is a Nazarite vow. It says, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning thee are nothing. See that? So people were saying that Paul was not keeping the law. But they said, hey, go do this real quick so that it can be made plain upon tables, that when people were saying you weren't keeping the law or teaching to keep the law, that's false. Why? Because look, you keeping the law now. Continuing on. It says, but that thou thyself also walkest orderly and keepest the law. See how this thing is all cut up and chopped up and ripped in pieces and cut in half. It's very easy. You got to go precept upon precept, man. And you got to be able to show Jake these things. Jake going to come up with these questions. And you got to answer. Yes, Paul kept the law and he taught to keep the law. Paul wasn't a hypocrite. He was teaching against being a hypocrite. Let me get this real quick. In Romans 2:11, I believe it is. All right, this is the book of Romans 2:11. No, that's not what I want. 2:1. Romans 2:1. It says, therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest. For wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. Why is he saying this? He's going to explain. For thou that judgest doest the same thing. See that? So he was getting on people that were being hypocrites. So there was men in the world, they was kind of teaching things and saying things, but yet they themselves, they weren't doing it. Like the scribes and Pharisees, you read about Matthew 23:1 on down. These men were saying things, but yet they weren't doing those things themselves. They was spewing out words, but yet they couldn't swallow them themselves. They was throwing rocks at men, yet they couldn't hold those rocks that they was throwing at other men. So Paul taught against being a hypocrite. Why would he keep the law behind the scenes? He kind of, like right now, you see these curtains? If I move these, if I go in there and I shut the curtains, nobody can see what I'm doing behind there. So you think Paul was kind of going in the shower, if you got ears to hear, he closed the curtains. All right, he was keeping the law behind the curtains. Then he came out, he said, hey, y'all don't got to keep the law, man. All right, that's not what the hell was going on. He was teaching that you have to keep the law. That's all that was going on when he said, I'm going to read it one more time. All right, Lord willing, is plain upon tables for you, brothers and sisters. And if you do have any further questions about it, I'll be glad to go through it again. All right, more in depth maybe, if you post the questions in the comments. All right, let me get this again. This is Galatians 5:6. It says, for in Yahushua HaMashiach, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. See that? So we just broke this thing down. What he was telling you is, Paul was his whole message is that the things he was saying, he was just telling you, you need faith and works. All right. This is 2nd Ezra's, all right, 9 and 7. We're going to get this last one on there. And then we're going to go to the next thing. All right, 2nd Ezra's 9 and verse 7. It says, and every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed. Plain upon tables, you're going to be saved by faith and works. That's all Paul was teaching. And things that were out of your reach for that time being, all right, just chill with that. You know, work on and build on doing that. Build on keeping that law. But in the meantime, and keep these other laws that are hard for you to keep. That was the message. Now, the next thing I wanted to touch on was Colossians 3 and verse 11. All right, pertaining to Jew nor Greek. and so on and so forth. All right, so this is the book of Colossians 3. All right, Colossians 3 and 11. And it says, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Hamashiach is all and in all. So they'll use this to say Hamashiach he's dealing with the Jews and he's dealing with the Greeks. It don't matter if you're a Jew or a Greek, he's still dealing with you. It doesn't matter if you're circumcised or uncircumcised, meaning they'll try to break that down and say it doesn't matter if you're keeping the law or not keeping the law, you're still a Hamashiach. Then it says whether you're barbarian, Scythian, bond or free. They don't really touch on the barbarian and Scythian. I kind of don't think they, to my knowledge, a lot of them probably don't know what that means. Because Jake read but really don't read. All right, they don't go into the etymology and try to break things down. They just listen to their pastor, and they damn pastor up there don't know what the hell barbarian or Scythian is. All right, but we're going to break this down. Let's read it again. This is Galatians 3 and 11. It says, where there is neither Greek nor Jew. Now, we know the Jews, that's very understandable. We know who the Jews are. All right, but it says Greek. Now, we got to find out who those Greeks are. Real quick, I have a study Bible real quick. All right, kind of get into this thing. It's the King James Study Bible. All right, y'all got to get one of these. If you're a brother trying to really be diligent in this thing, hey, get you one of these. Now, with this, you have to, the way you read this, you don't believe everything that's said here. All right, everything that's said here, you don't believe. Now, when things are being said, you have to go precept upon precept and use discernment. So, it slipped my mind what I was going to say. Basically, what I was going to say was, with this, you have to chew the meat and spit out the bones. All right? Get the meat, the bones, you don't really want to swallow that, man. It'll damn jam up your throat if you got ears to hear. All right? So, real quick, we can go to the book of Acts. All right? The 6th chapter, real quick. Now, this is scholars. This is a scholastic book right here. All right, Esau. This is Esau. Esau is telling you in this book that the Greeks are not actual Edomites, not the Grecian Edomites, man. All right, that's not. Even Esau know that's not going into that, man. This is the book at I'm in damn Romans. I gotta go to Acts. Bear with me. All right, but definitely get you one of these. There's a lot of good information in here. All right. So this is Acts 6, and it's verse 1. It says, in those days, 1 through 2, it says, in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. All right, so it speaks here, it speaks of the Grecians. Now, when you go into what the Grecians mean, it's right here. Let me see if I could kind of... it's right here. You may be able to screenshot it and read it for yourself, but that's what I'm about to read. All right, so basically at the bottom of these chapters or paragraphs, you have brief explanations, and they kind of tell you what's going on. If you don't understand the chapter, they somewhat break down the chapter. Some things they say are off. Some things are easily proven through the scriptures. All right. So continuing on, I'm going to read this. It says the Grecians were not Greeks. Right then and there, it's a cut. Now, if it's not the actual Greeks, the Edomites, who is it speaking of? It says, but Hellenists who were allowed Greek culture and language to influence their lives, playing upon tables, man. So these are Hebrews, these are Jews, Israelites, that were Hellenized during the Greek captivity. That's found easily in the book of 1 Maccabees. Okay? It's the book of 1 Maccabees 1, and I'm going to go to verse 10. Because you had Israel in this time, they easily took heed to the Greek philosophies. All right, that's Jake, destroyed for lack of knowledge. This is the book of 1 Maccabees 1, and I'm going to start at verse 10. 1 Maccabees 1 and 10. It says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, the son of Antiochus the king, who had been at hostage at Rome. It says, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. So you have wicked ass Israel that said, yo, let's go make a covenant with these Edomites. Don't you see how these Edomites got their gold, their silver? Look at their attire, all right? You know, the damn war helmets, their swords. Hey, I want that. Let's just get down with them. It won't hurt. You know, you got that one Jake in the clique. All right, you got 10 brothers in the clique. All right, the group, whatever you want to call it. All right, he may say, yo, don't you see them over there? Don't you see them? Look, they riding in BMWs. They got a damn niece. They got a Ferrari over there. Look at their chains, man. Don't you see how they chains hang down to their damn kneecaps? Don't y'all want to get that? All right, well, if y'all want that, let's go follow them. There's always that Jake in the group, man. These are these types of Jakes right here. They kind of get in Israel, gather them together. You know, they gathered them together. They kind of blew the damn shofar to get everybody's attention. They say, yo, we might as well go and make a covenant with these Grecians. All right, these Greeks. All right, continuing on. Verse 11. In those days went there out, slacky. Verse, I was still on 11, I was further down. It says, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. See that? So the king Antiochus, he gave certain of the Jews permission to follow their ways. He said, know what? Y'all want to follow me and my people? Go ahead. And then they opened up gyms and then a bunch of following there. Let's go to 2 Maccabees 4:15. You also got 1 Maccabees 1:41 on down. I'm going to touch on that later on. All right, this is the book of 2 Maccabees 4:15. All right, so this is 2 Maccabees 4:15. It says, not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. Jake, they want to follow the heathens so bad. They love the heathens more than their own forefathers. All right, and following their ways. It says, by reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, because great destruction came upon us due to these Grecians. That's what it's saying. For they had them to be their enemies and avengers. We were once their enemies and avengers, whose customs they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things. So Jake completely abandoned their law, statutes, and commandments, and said, know what? We're going to go and follow the heathens instead. So that's the Greeks. Those are the Greeks that's in Colossians 3:11. All right, Jews that were just Hellenized. All right, they whether they were forced to keep the Greek commandments or ways of life, or whether they willingly submitted under the Greeks and followed their ways. Those are the Greeks. So the Lord said, what he was saying was, playing upon tables, there's no difference between the Jews and the Greeks. Why? Because y'all both the same people. One of you are acknowledging the laws of the one sect of you guys are acknowledging my commandments, and you're acknowledging your nationality. The other sect of you guys, you don't know your nationality, you're not recognizing it, but yet you are still Israel by lineage, by blood, by the bloodline. By default, you are still Israel. So there's no difference between you two. So, hey, go out there and teach them Greeks too. All right? Don't just go and teach the Jews that know the commandments. Go and teach the Greeks too. That would be folly if you didn't do that. That's like us right now. There's, for example, the brothers that's in this truth, they would represent the Jews. That you know your nationality, you keeping the law, you watching these breakdowns to get edified. Now, you have Jake that's in the world, they would be symbolic for the Greeks. Why? Because they don't know what the hell's going on. They're not watching these breakdowns. They're not even thinking to watch these breakdowns. They think they're black. They think they're Hispanic. And they think they're Native American. They think their heritage is BT, loving hip-hop, loving basketball, damn, they follow NFL. They think that's their heritage. They would stand for the Greeks. How wrong would it be for us to just teach Israel that knows the law, that's keeping the law, and not to go out there and teach those and warn them of their wicked ways before destruction comes? All right? That's what the Lord said. He said through Paul, he said there's no difference between the Jews or the Greeks. Y'all all the same people. Y'all all should be getting along. All right? That's what that's going into. So let's go back to that in Colossians 3:11. All right, select here. This is Colossians 3:11. It says, where there is neither Greek nor Jew. So he broke that down. This is very easy to understand. The Greeks are those that were Hellenized. Circumcision nor uncircumcision. So the circumcision were those that was keeping the Levitical law. All right, this is Leviticus 12 and verse 3. All right. It's the book of Leviticus 12 and verse 3. It says, I'll start at verse 1. Leviticus 12 and 1, it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be clean. And in the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. So it was a law given to Israel that we must circumcise our sons, their flesh. They circumcised their flesh on the 8th day, all right, after being born. That was a law. So the circumcision is those that actually were keeping the laws and they circumcised their children's flesh. All right, that's the circumcision. Now, again, these damn Christians, they'll say, well, the uncircumcised, that's the heathens. All right. Haven't you read Wisdom of Solomon? They'll try to use your own book on you, man. Wisdom of Solomon 12. Because he goes into the Hamites being, the Egyptians being the uncircumcised. That's not what the uncircumcision is not talking about the heathens. The uncircumcision is talking about, again, Israel that wasn't keeping the law of circumcision. Let's go back to 2nd Maccabees, or 1st Maccabees, and we're going to touch on 1st Maccabees 1 and 41. All right. This is the book of 1st Maccabees 1 and 41. I'm going to read it all the way down. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. See that? So there was men of Israel, they forsook the commandments and said, know what? We're going to just follow these Greeks. Verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. Verse 48, here's the point. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. All right, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. So these Greeks, they commanded Israel. They said, don't circumcise your children. If you do so, we're going to destroy you. Later on, you read about that. All right, they was putting people to death. Let me get this. Let me skip down. It's 1st Maccabees 1 on, bear with me. This is 1st Maccabees 1, I started at 59. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. So they was putting women to death, and obviously the children, and throwing them. Let me read it. Continuing on, it says, and they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had them circumcised. So they was killing off all Israel that was circumcising their children in the flesh. All right. So now you have men that was like, I really don't want that to happen to me. They said, know what? I submit. I agree. hey, I'm not going to circumcise my children. Now, there was what I want to call it, a tradition being passed on. Now, me, if I'm being Hellenized, right, and they cause me to basically bow down to them and give in to their pressure. Now, me, I'm not going to sacrifice my son. I'm not going to circumcise my son. Now, I'm going to tell my son, you know, we're Greeks now. We're part of the Greeks. Hey, when you have a son, don't circumcise him. That's implanted in his mind. Now, I die off. He has a son. He going to tell his son, hey, we Greeks now. Hey, don't be sacrificing. Don't be Don't be circumcising your damn son. All right, you know. Then he got that implanted in his mind, and then now this is a generational thing, a generational shackle that's on your mind. So now they have became the uncircumcision. So the circumcision, plain upon tables, is those that were keeping the law of circumcision. All right, and the uncircumcised were those that they were uncircumcised, not only in the flesh, but uncircumcised in the heart. Likewise with the circumcision. All right, they were circumcised in the flesh and in their hearts. They was keeping the law. They peeled away all those sins and infirmities. They threw away the garbage that the society has taught you. The uncircumcision, they didn't do that. They were abiding in sin and unlawful deeds and things that were profane in the sight of the Most High. All right, that's the uncircumcision. So he's telling you there's no difference between the uncircumcision nor the circumcision. You're one and the same. You're both Israel. All right, going back to Colossians 3:11 again. All right, so this is the book of Colossians 3 and verse 11. It says, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision. A barbarian is just a man ignorant of the Greek language. That's what they call them, barbarians. Scythian is the same thing as a barbarian. Again, a Jew, Israelite, ignorant of the Greek language. And these men were more outgoing and they were more wild than the barbarians. I could put it like that. They were more out there. They threw themselves out there. They made themselves known. All right, those are the Scythians. Now you prove that by going into the etymology. Continuing on, it says bond nor free. So what does the bond nor free mean? All right, because you had Israelites that were in servitude under Jacob. All right, that's why he says this in Colossians 3 and 22. He says, servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. Now, there's scoffers who kind of use this precept to say, oh, see that? The white man wrote the Bible. He said, obey your master. What he's speaking of, he's speaking about, again, a brother that's hired by his brother. That's been going on. Just like we've seen how Laban hired Jacob to be a servant. All right, he wasn't a damn slave, but he was in servitude. All right, that's in Deuteronomy 15 and 12. All right, let's grab that. This is Deuteronomy 15 and 12. So you could have your brother in servitude. Not you damn lash like Esau had you in slavery. He kind of serving you with rigor. Build up my monuments. Build up the Eiffel Tower. No, that's not what was going on. All right, they were paid service. Basically, just like you'll go and have a job. Now, you sign certain papers saying, okay, I won't do this, that, ABC, ABC. And now this man has to pay you for your work. That's all it was. All right? But you would stay in his home. It's just like, it's different like in that way. This is Deuteronomy 15 and 12. It says, and if thy brother in Hebrew man or in Hebrew woman be sold unto thee. So this person, he may come unto you and say, you know what, brother, I need a job, I need money, I need to feed my kids. Let me be a manservant unto you. Let me be a maidservant unto you. He or she is selling herself to this brother or sister to be a servant. All right? Not a slave, a servant. All right? And serve these 6 years. Then in the 7th year, thou shalt let him go free from thee. See that? So you can have, and continuing on, verse 13, and when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. So you're supposed to give him things, money, or currency, oxen, sheep, cattle, whatever. So you can have your brother in servitude as a maidservant, or your sister as your sister as a maidservant, or your brother as a manservant. That's why he said this. Again, I'm gonna read it again. He said to obey your master. All right, the bond and the free. That's what that's going into. The bond is those that's they're a servant under their brother. That's the bond. All right, and then the free are those that's not serving nobody. They kind of doing their own thing. All right, so going back to Colossians 3 and verse 11. All right, bear with us. All right, so this is Colossians 3 and 11. It says, one more time, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Hamashiach is all and in all. All right, so we just broke it down. He's not saying that the Moabite and the Jew is the same, a damn Edomite and a Jake is the same. We're all the same. We all gonna make it. That's not what he's gonna say. All right. From the foundations, from the beginning, Jake and the heathens, we've always been different. All right. They could never be like us. This is the book of Esther, and that's why you got to go through the precepts. You will understand that he's not saying what the Christians are saying. The Christians, they use that to say that everyone's the same. There's no difference between us. Hell, that's not in there. That's not in the damn scriptures, man. All right, this is the book of Esther 10 and verse 10. All right, Esther 10 and verse 10. One of my favorite precepts, because this is a damn slice. This is Esther 10 and 10. It says, therefore hath he made, it's talking about the Most High. It says, therefore hath he made two lots. A lot is a destiny, fate. They'll call it destiny or a fate. All right, you know, that's what a lot is. So it says, therefore hath he made two lots. One for the people of God. The people of God are the Israelites. It says, and another for all the Gentiles. Plain upon tables, man. He made one lot for the children of Israel, and there's another lot for the Gentiles, man. The lot of the children of Israel is for them to be saved, all right, and have everlasting life. And a lot of the Gentiles is to be destroyed here in America, or here on this earth in the flesh. Then they're going to be made servants, all right. That's the two different lots. We are never the same. Everyone's not going to get saved, all right. Yahweh Shai or Paul, they were never teaching those things. It's the book of John 11. I'm going to go to verse 50. All right, this is John 11 and verse 50. I'm going to wrap it up soon, but I got to make this plain upon tables. This is John 11 and 50. It says, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. It says, and this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh Shai should die for that nation. For that nation. That nation is the children of Israel. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together. It's like it says, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. All right, so he's talking about the children of Israel that were scattered abroad. All right, we had northern kingdom up in different parts. All right, Israel, that's who scattered abroad. Let me get this in the book of Ezekiel 36 and verse. I'm going to start at 1. Well, 36 and 19. Slack it, bear with me. All right, so this is the book of Ezekiel 36, and I'm going to start at verse 19. It says, and I scatter, I'm going to start at 1. Ezekiel 36 and 1, so you know who he's speaking to. It says, also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. Now let's go to verse 19. He's speaking about the children of Israel. It says, and I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries. According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them. So plain upon tables, he said, I'm coming to save. That Yahushua is going to die for that nation, the children of Israel, the Jews. And it's speaking about the Jews. And it says, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. So you had northern kingdom scattered abroad, and you had other Jews that were scattered abroad. Paul, he was going into Asia. He went to Rome. All right, that's to show you Israel was scattered all over. All right, as a whole, we were scattered abroad. So not only the nation of Israel that was dwelling among them there in Jerusalem, all right, and neighboring cities, but those that are all scattered abroad, Yahushua is coming to die for them. That's very plain upon tables. So everyone's not the same. He's not coming to save everyone. All right. So Lord willing, that was edifying to at least one brother or even to one sister. All right. With that, I'm gonna give all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, which the world calls God, and Yahushua, which the world calls Jesus Christ. Shalom. Shalom.